Action!
Raging Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Usually we're saying good evening, but we're saying good afternoon today as the Cajuns had a 11 o'clock game against the Green Wave of Tulane, where Louisiana falls by a score of 41-33. Lots of stuff went wrong for the Cajuns today. Some things went right. Offensively, we did some things very well. Defensively, ish, is all I got to say about that. Special teams, holy cow. Jerry, we're going to get into that because you know that's my thing. Like, just do your damn job. We failed at that a couple of times today. But my problem, Jerry, with this game is not so much a loss against Tulane, because look, Tulane's a good team. Okay, let's get that out the way. Tulane is a good team. Did I feel like we competed well enough to win? No, I think had we competed up to the standard that we've thought we were at and what we saw the first couple of weeks, maybe we were lulled into a sleep because of who we played. But regardless, had we played up to what our expectations were, I think we win this game. And I still stick to my original game plan or prediction of we win by 3, but did not expect to see what I saw against the defense today. Ben seemed off at times. And we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the later in the game, when a crucial game ending game, potentially game tying drive where Ben had 2 intentional grounding calls. I mean, that you can't do that. I mean, all you got to do is throw the ball over the line of scrimmage. Play calling was suspect a few times in that game, especially going for 2 early in the third quarter, I thought was actually ridiculous because that put us in a bad position at the end of the game. So a lot of weird things, Jerry, in this game that I'm just kind of scratching my head going, this is not what we saw last couple of games. And granted, the competition was lesser than what we saw today, but the execution was just awful in several phases of the game. What did you see being at the game today?
Well, first of all, I want to say that Tulane is a good football team. We knew that going in. I noticed it today. And when you play good football teams, you've got to find ways to limit your own mistakes and almost play a perfect game to have a shot to win in spite of being at home. Let's be honest. We gave them 14 points. Pick 6, kickoff return. And, some Tulane fans will say, well, we earned that. Okay, fine. But you can't give them that opportunity. And when you give up kickoff returns for touchdowns, that's on our special teams to be able to cover that. When you have a miscommunication between a quarterback and a receiver, you do your best to avoid a defensive back being right there to have the ball thrown right at him and just taking it to the house. So playing teams like Tulane, when you give them 14 points anytime you give them any scores for that matter, whether it's 7 or 14 points, you're most likely not going to win the game. And I thought that's what happened today. I thought fundamentally, defensively, we didn't really adjust. I mean, in the second half, Tulane's offensive line just dominated us. And one of the keys to victory, I said going into this week, was our defensive line has to be able to dominate their front 7. And in order for us to do that, we have to stop the run and we have to force them to punt. they had to have converted at least 80. And without looking at stats, they probably converted over 80% of their third downs. They just gashed us in the run game. I thought that we could have made more adjustments later in the game, and we didn't. Offensively, I'll be honest with you, I thought the play calling was kind of suspect a little bit, especially in the first half, where before that pick six, we're getting 4 or 5 yards of carry on the ground, and we called 2 straight pass plays, which leads to that 3rd and 10, which turned into a pick six. And then once we start running the ball in the second half, Bill Davis pulls a 70-plus yard run and puts us in the end zone on the next play. So that's where I'm just, we talk about the three-headed monster.
That's what I feel about the game today.
Yes. We talk about the three-headed monster with our running backs, but I don't think we used them enough today. And when they did get a chance to carry the ball, they carried it well. So, look, I don't think this is a huge setback. Like, I don't think, the season's over or we're in trouble. But it's frustrating because we could have and should have won this game. And the key to victory, again, was not making mistakes. And we made a lot of mistakes. And we're still in the game, and that's what's so frustrating. If we play a clean game, if we keep Tulane's offense off the field, if we don't give them 14 points through a pick six and a kickoff return, and our coverage team was better than what that showed to start the second half and not have to play catch up the entire second half, we may be sitting here talking about a win. But we're not. So moving forward, there's a lot of stuff that we have to clean up in all phases of the game, all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. Ben, look, I'll talk about Ben. I thought Ben was poised in the pocket, but when he had some pressure on him, he had 2 intentional groundings, 2 of them that cost us a lot of yardage. I thought the passing game was okay for the most part, but there were some opportunities that we squandered.
And by the way, what happened to our running game? We just decided in the first half we would not run it, and then you get Bill Davis in, and he gets big chunks.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't understand.
Again, before that pick six, I was screaming to run the football. We were getting 4 or 5 yards of carry, and we decided to get pass happy. And again, we have if we're going to talk about a three-headed monster in our running back core, can we at least use them more often than not, especially against a defense like this, who we know, yes, they're John Summerall defense is aggressive. We've seen it, but at the same time, you still have to play to your strengths. And I thought we didn't really do that with the rushing attack today as much as we should have, especially in this heat. Tulane, you saw that they did that in the second half, and look at what happened. They were able to put the game away and basically just create more momentum and force us to kind of play catch up. So, there were a lot of mistakes I saw in the field. I was disappointed because I knew we could have won this game. But, look, moving forward, we're going to have to clean a lot of stuff up. And starting tomorrow when we look at the film, because we go to Wake Forest next week, it's not going to get much easier. And God forbid you go in a conference and blow some games in conference because you're making careless mistakes. No, this team, look, I'm not throwing the towel in or anything, but we got some work to do, Nick. We've got some work to do. But before I let you go, shout out to Cajun Nation today. Attendance 22,534. It actually looked like more than that. Look, with the heat, it was hot. Okay, it was hot today. But I got to tell you, Cajun Nation showed up and showed out. It was loud. It was fun. And I also want to give a shout out to the first responders and the EMT teams. They were there they had to have been hundreds of people that probably passed out or needed an IV
So let's talk about that, okay? Because, and I'm not going to go into like how it affected the teams because both teams had problems with the heat. I think defensively, it affected both teams more than it did offensively, obviously, because our defenses both got gashed, and that's not something we typically see. But shame on ESPN for doing this again, because they did it back when we played Boise State. And I remember T. Joe saying, I don't care if we are on the mothership at 11 o'clock a.m., we're not doing this again. And we allowed them to do it again. And it, like, when you're putting fans in a dangerous situation just because you want to see a game because you can't fit us in somewhere else, I think I get the exposure, but I think at some point somebody in the administration needs to say it's not worth it, because if you're at the point where you have to have, like you said, hundreds of EMTs out there to help our fans who are passing out during the game, that is stupid. It is the middle of September in Louisiana when it's 130. I think they showed it was 130 degrees at one point on the surface of the playing field. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. Decision makers have to be better. I'm just saying there. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but Terry, I will go ahead and let you get your first take in because I know it's going to be a happy, jolly one. So if you want to mute yourself and go ahead, man, the floor is yours, brother.
Who's trying to get a moral victory.
Terry, let me cut you off. Start over again because I didn't hit the mute button.
I'm sorry. Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. So if there's any fans right now, I'm just saying right now, if you're the type of person that wants moral victories, we played a good Tulane team, and we should stop that shit right now. I'm seeing it already. Oh, we're going to be so good. We're going to beat Wake Forest. Look, there's no telling what this team's going to look like next week. We cannot win one-score games when it matters. We cannot beat good teams in this past 3 years under this regime.
2 for 10, Terry. We're 2 for 10 in one-score games over the past 3 years.
Yes. I told y'all, stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe. We beat 2 FCS. I don't care what Kennesaw State is. We beat 2 FCS teams in a row. Stop doing it. We got a new defensive coordinator, and I understand Tulane's very talented. I understand John Summerall is a great head coach. We can't get off the field, and we're getting dominated on the line of scrimmage. We allow a pick six and a kickoff return. And unless you're the Cajuns, who gets, who last year when you went to play Jacksonville State, you got 3 non-offensive touchdowns. If you give up 2 non-offensive touchdowns, you're going to lose the game. Unless you're Jacksonville State against us. Let's be honest, guys. This is what, and we dropped 2 INTs ourselves. We dropped one, tipped ball. We can't get it. Their offensive lineman gets it, gets a 4 or 5 yard gain. They score a touchdown on that drive. We could have gotten an interception. I can't remember if it was Lewis or Skipper. We could have gotten an interception at the end of the game before they kicked that field goal to go up 8. Couldn't get it. Like, it's just, guys.
Terry,
things on the wall, guys. I can't defend this anymore. I'm not going to try.
But you saw the way it was going. Like, you feel the vibe of the game. You kind of feel how things are going back and forth, back and forth. And I said on that last drive that you're talking about where we had the interception in his hands, and I think it was Tyree who had it. I don't remember who it was who had it, but somebody had it in their hands and they dropped it. And I said, that's ass. That's ball game. Because we needed a turnover at that point because I knew we weren't going to drive it down the field. And guess what? We didn't.
I mean, guys, the tale of going for 2 on that reverse pass that we tried to do in the bowl game, the same old bullshit. Guys,
let's talk about that, Terry. Like, it was, to me, that was a sign of desperation. If early in the third quarter, you think you have to go for 2, that put us.
No, I would have kicked PAT.
Yeah, because look at the end of the game. We were down by 8. We would have been down by 7. We wouldn't have had to worry about going for 2 at the end of the game. We would have just, had to worry about driving it down the field and scoring and kicking an extra point. That put us in a bad spot. That was a terrible play call decision that, in my opinion, there were a couple from Dez that I'm scratching my head at.
Like Dez lucked out that we even could get the ball back by the end when they missed that last field goal. Like that play call. I understand going for it the second to last possession, but Ben throws that screen. Like go for it all, man. Go for broke. Ben did what he could. The O-line played bad in the pass protection. Ben got absolutely dominated. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben does not make it to next week because he's so injury prone, honestly. Like, I mean, he's a tough dude, but I mean, he got hit so many times. You can't and we ran him so much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ben made things happen, man. Like I tweeted out his middle name's got to be Devontae because Ben was shaking bacon. He was doing all he could out there, and the O-line just could not protect him. Run blocking was very solid, and also Mensa's getting for the most part a clean pocket, but the times we get pressure, we can't get a sack. We can't.
We aren't
Like,
tackling,
there's no
Terry.
athleticism on our defensive line to break down and get a sack.
We couldn't wrap.
And y'all,
We had a chance to sack them 3 times, one on third down that pretty much extended their drive and got him into the end zone, I believe. I mean, we literally had him in the backfield, and he got out of it and ran for, like, what, 15, 20 yards after that?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's like, guys, man, like I said this last week. We can't get turnovers, and we're not getting sacks, and we're injury prone on the offensive line. I like, some of y'all might thought I was overreacting, but this is a sign. We cannot maintain this type of football to the end of the season. We can't. You can't be injury prone on the offensive line and not get any sort of turnovers along with sacks to get your opponent behind the sticks. It can't be maintained on a good football team.
And not only that, Terry, but the play calling when you're 3rd and long and you think you're going to go for it on 4th down, you throw a screen pass behind the sticks.
Yes.
Like, what is that? Like, at least make it competitive. And like you said, at least go deep, like go for it all. If you're going to go for it, but there were a couple times I scratched my head during this game where I'm like, why are we throwing the ball behind the sticks when you're on 3rd and long? Or there was another play where we just ran it and he picked up a couple of yards. And that just brings me back to, like, Des was a quote co-offensive coordinator under Napier. This is very Napier-like when you see those types of things creep up in our games.
Yeah, I mean, like, and Harvey Broussard was getting, 4 pass interference penalties. I don't understand why you don't try the sidelines, continuously try to throw the ball to him. Call pass interference. What are you doing? I mean, I didn't agree with throwing it most of the time in the game anyway. We gave up on a run game, but didn't need to get given up on. I don't know, bro. Like,
but Terry, that's another thing. Look, five offensive or 5 or 6 pass interference calls on Tulane. By the way, a couple of them were really, really sketchy. I don't know if I buy them. So we were given first downs in that game too. Let's not forget that. That's very important because a few of our drives continued on the fact that Tulane made mistakes and we were gifted a couple of penalties.
Yeah. Guys, man, look, I love Dez. I want him to succeed more than anything. But 2-10 in 1-score games in a game you should have won, I don't care. That's uncalled for. That is absolutely trash. I'm not going to defend it. Everybody knows we should have won this game by how good we played. I mean, in the good parts. And the bad parts that we played were completely avoidable. Kicking the ball out of bounds, I thought we were past that.
Bro, me too, man. This is 6 years. We're going on 6 years where we still can't have a kicker who can kick it through the freaking end zone. We're still kicking the ball out of bounds 6 years later. This is obnoxious. How many times, how many guys in FBS football can kick the freaking ball in bounds? And we still can't do it. And then what happens? The freaking next half, the first kickoff, we kick it to the guy at the 10-yard line and he takes it to the house. How difficult is it to get a competent guy who can kick the ball? It's unbelievable, Terry.
And here's the philosophy, guys. The philosophy is they don't want to kick in the end zone. They want to pin them deep in their own, 1 yard line and try to tackle the return man before the 20. And look, after today,
Jerry,
after today, they better rethink doing that. They better rethink doing that because let me tell you, there's other teams that have that type of return man.
I mean, look, man, it's like Groundhog Day. It's insanity. We keep doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results. Like, look, man, y'all can stop me. Look, man, stop me all the bullshit, bro. Stop with me all the revenge tour. We're a different team bullshit, bro. Stop that. I've seen this. I've seen this before. I've seen this shit. Stop it. I know what it is, and y'all ain't gonna convince me otherwise. And you can't convince 2 out of 10 in 1-score games. Get out of here with that bullshit, bro. I'm done, man. Like, I'm still gonna team. I love this team. I ain't gonna expect no different result, bro.
I'm with you, Terry. We're going to move on to other speakers we got waiting. Again, just mute yourself, but come on if you want to chime in. Cajun too, but you've been waiting a little while, man. Sorry. By the way, I'm sorry I'm yelling into the microphone, but there's nothing that drives me crazier than a player on a team that has one freaking job. You kick the damn ball and it doesn't go out of bounds, and you kick it and try to get into the end zone. Nothing drives me crazier than that. No excuse that a program of our caliber, who just a few years ago was in the talk for freaking the playoff and all this stuff, can't get a kicker that can kick the damn ball. Whatever. Tuba, you around if you want to unmute yourself and give us your take, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on a few different things. So what y'all were talking about, the heat, Jerry knows me and my brother own a lawn care business around here, and even us, we were struggling to get through that game.
Hot.
It was nuts. I don't think you should ever have an 11 a.m. game at Cajun Field unless it's in late November. That's ridiculous for it to be that hot. I mean, because after halftime, I was thinking, okay, it's a good game. Watch so many people leaving, but I mean, I didn't realize it's just that freaking hot. But also the thing that really, I mean, what Terry was talking about, the missed opportunities, I think what really bothered me the most was the third down conversions that really just kept breaking our defense, especially that 3rd and 13 late in the game.
Yeah, it just felt like every time we were in a position to get a stop. I mean, I say that, but then again, I mean, we couldn't stop their running game. And then you allow Mensah, like you said, 3rd and 13 to get that big conversion. That was another chance that we had to take over and drive it down the field. Because let's be honest, neither team, like I said earlier, neither team's defense was stopping the other one. So you felt like whoever got the stop was going to win the game. And that's exactly what Tulane did. They got the stop to win the game. And that's all they needed. And that's truly all we needed. So when people say, and some people are saying we should have won that game, we're better than Tulane. I'm not going to say we're better than Tulane. I'm going to say you had two evenly matched teams today, that we had opportunities to win the game. But Tulane's a good team. I think we have the talent to match with Tulane. I just think we had some really poor coaching decisions, and 2, I think we just did not play up to our level that we expect us to play. Now, whether or not that means we're not good as we thought we were, or whether that means we just did not play as well as we can, that's to be debated. But for those people to say, well, we're better than Tulane, I throw that out the window, man. We're not better than Tulane.
If we're better than Tulane,
I mean, that goes back to the interview you had with their coach. I mean, he said it himself. These two teams are so similar. I mean, and it showed on the field. The difference was the mistake late in the first half, the pick six. I mean, if you don't throw that pick six, I mean, who knows what kind of game it could be.
Agreed. 100%. I mean, there were how many points in the game can you point to that you're saying, well, if we would have just done this, and that's really what this game came down to. And again, they gifted you 5 or 6 pass interference calls to move the ball down the field, and we took advantage of some of them. But it's almost like turnovers. When you get 5, 6 pass interference calls that move the ball down the field, you feel like you have a good chance to win, and we still couldn't pull it off. Just a tough day.
Yeah, I just think it's a shame. We'll be kicking ourselves for a long time. Especially, I don't think any other game will be as challenging as this one, except maybe Texas State on the road. I mean, not to sunshine pump. I hate sunshine pumping, but the bright side, I think, is that no game is going to be as tough as Tulane was.
I agree, and that includes Wake Forest. I don't think Wake Forest is as good as people might think, just because of the name on the. But
okay,
again, we could still go out there and lose. But
play like you did today. Play like you did today at Wake Forest.
Then you have no choice.
You ain't gonna win.
Yeah, you have no chance.
Guys, I'm telling you, stop going in that mindset, thinking that we're gonna play well, because it always happens. Stop doing it to yourself. Don't torture yourself. Stop it, guys. We know what this team is. 3 years and we know what it is.
But Terry, this is one game out of 12 we're playing this season. Like, I'm pissed at the way that things ended up today. I'm not ready to say we suck and pack it in and we need a new coach. We're just talking about one game.
I'm not saying that we suck. I'm saying that we always find a way to lose.
And
We make it a priority to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And I've you in the era of the transfer portal and NIL and all this, the one thing you can at least have is a consistent coach that's been and players that's been in the system and know what to do. We've had players we returned more production than most of anybody in college football. We only lost 2 starters from last year's team, 2 really good starters, but 2 starters. Why are we still not executing, even though the players have been in the system for 3 years? Why? It's a problem. That's an issue. If John Summerall comes to Tulane with, yes, I know, bring some other players from Troy. He's a great coach. I understand. Still can compete at a P4 level. Why can we not execute against light competition? Why is it so hard?
yeah, and Terry, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I agree with you today. I'm just saying I am going to let things play out this season because was today again. Both teams, let's be honest, Terry, both teams look like shit. Tulane did not look good today on defense. Their offense was okay. I mean, the offense obviously got the job done. Our defense looked like crap. I really do think playing 11 o'clock in Southern Louisiana in the heat was something that while both teams in South Louisiana can be prepared for, you can't. I really, again, think that today was weird for both teams, man. I think today was just weird. I think Tulane's better than they showed today, if we're being honest.
I mean, yeah, of course they did not, play to the standard they played against K-State and OU. But guess what? They found a way to finish.
Yeah,
and we can finish. We can't finish.
And
dude.
by the way, they just played 2 games against K-State and OU. Mm-hmm. And we had a week off to prepare for this. And I'm going to credit Crippa for reminding me that in our text earlier today, because he said that. He's like, we had a week to prepare for this game, and we looked less prepared than Tulane did coming in.
Yes.
Why is that?
I don't think we stuck. I know what this team is. And if y'all, and I'm saying like you specifically, but the people who, if who you are, feel like, oh, you're going to get like a different sample size or a different sort of product than you got the past 2 years, I think you're fooling yourself. I know what's going on. I feel like I know what's going on.
RC, Jordan, T, Tyler, I see you guys holding there. We'll get you in a second. Before we do, I'll go to you next, RC, but I wanted to point out some comments from Dez, Chris DeMatre sharing this. Key of the game was to put pressure on a young QB. And how many sacks did we have on Mensa today? 0. How many sacks have we had this season through 3 games? By the way, against FCS, you could call Kennesaw State an FCS team, if we're being honest. 0, right? Another quote. What? No game will be as tough? What? No game will be as tough? We're gonna have.
Don't lie to me.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll agree with Wonder to win the decision to go for it in 4th down on our own territory with plenty of time left on the clock. It goes with the 2-point conversion idea. Like, why? Like, why are we playing desperate? We're playing like we're playing in Ohio State. Like,
and look at the play call.
The talent differential is like UL versus Ohio State.
And
instead
look at the play
of UL
call.
versus 2, and the play call was atrocious.
Look at,
on top of that.
We threw a dump off pass that was overthrown. It was like 4th and 9, and we threw a dump off pass that was overthrown. I mean, I'm like, are you serious? That's what we're doing in a time like this in our own territory?
I don't know, man. RC, you've been holding a while, man, and I know you're going to give me shit for not being at tailgate today because of my little foot issue, but go ahead.
I don't know what's more important. It's more disappointing. We lost, or you didn't get your ass down here to talk about this in person.
We're gonna make it happen, RC. I promise. We're gonna make it happen before the season's over.
Yeah. All right. First of all, hotter than shit. I applaud all the fans that stayed there the whole game because I mean it was hot. It was like, I don't know if it was like Texas 21 hot, but it was hot. Sun beating down. The people that stayed, thank you for staying. Uh, I don't know if I'm upset. I'm just kind of like I'm kind of numb to it. Like Terry was saying, like we are who we are. Uh, I don't know what to do anymore. I feel like we played a decent enough game to win, and we just didn't make like 2 or 3 plays. So you know, the old coach says it's all the way the ball bounces. The ball definitely didn't bounce in our favor, but whenever it bounces in our favor and we have a pick six that we could take back to the house, we have to make that play.
But Ryan,
You
when
know,
you say
like
it didn't bounce in our favor, there were 6 pass interference calls.
okay, so that was my next point. Those boys in white were physical as shit. They were some big boys. They were holding. They were
Oh
grabbing.
yeah.
That's just that's how they play, and it didn't go in their favor at that particular point. They had like that's all they were doing was holding us the whole game. They could have called holding or pass interference on every pass, as far as I'm concerned. But that's just the kind of team that they are. The difference is that we did not take advantage whenever we got the opportunity.
And I'll
The
say,
the ball.
look, we've poo-pooed on Dez for his play calling. I will say kudos to him for bringing that to the attention of the officials, because that's what happens in these games. He saw it on tape, he brought it to their attention, and they paid attention and made the right calls. Because had he
Yeah.
not done that, they might not have called those penalties. So kudos to him
Yeah.
on that.
Well, there was a couple plays that we left on the field, other than the I think T. dropped that. I thought it was going to be a pick six. That absolutely just it killed us right there. But that's not. I'm not blaming it on him. We had a couple of passes. I think the pass that Jake almost caught in the end zone, the one-handed Odell Beckham style. If that was thrown a little bit lower, that was a touchdown. There was a couple passes over the middle. We should have had just not very well thrown balls. And I don't know if it was because Ben had happy feet because he was moving around a lot, but the offensive line held up as long as they possibly could. But whenever we actually had to make a play, it didn't happen. And that's the difference. I don't think Tulane's good. They're a big physical I'm sorry, they're good, but I don't think they're that much better than us.
I agree, but I don't want anybody coming in here and saying we're better than Tulane, because I don't think
I'm
we
not
are.
saying that.
Yeah,
I'm
not saying you. I'm just saying other people.
If a couple of things go differently, we
We could
gave
win the
them
game.
14 points, and then we actually gave them 21 because we didn't take advantage of what I thought would have been a pick six.
Well,
by T.
22 because of that stupid call
No,
to go for 2.
that's what I told the whole crew. I was like, why are we chasing points 2 minutes into the third quarter?
Because that's a sign of desperation, Ryan. That's a sign of desperation. Yeah.
And I said that, and I'm like, why are we doing this? And of course, we still have to score at the end of the game. It could have been 7 or 8. It don't matter. We still have to score. But just putting that, I don't know, like the mindset. Sometimes I try to figure it out, but like I believe that Dez is a good coach. I want him to succeed. I really do. Like I want nothing more for him to succeed because he deserves it. But whenever Terry says the stuff that he says, like I want to ask Terry, like, what do you do from here? Because I never suited up.
Oh, Terry
So I
would
wanna
pack it
know.
up and leave the city. Terry would be done. But Terry, what do you do from here, son?
Like what do I do from here if I were like play coach? Like we
Like no. Like what's your next move as far as like what do you want to happen? Do you want the same coach? You want the same player? Like what do you want that needs to be different to happen?
it's just look. I'm not gonna call for a coach to be fired or anything. I love Dez. I want him to succeed, but but let's be honest, guys. Like I said, we've had. I know still not the first half the seasons we haven't played yet, but we see what this team is. We see what it is. It's the same thing, different day. And then people are going to say, oh, it's a moral victory or blah, 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 blah. And played against a good, solid Tulane team, even though they're like competition. I don't see
I don't think it's a moral victory at all. But whenever you say we got 65 people or 65% of our starting lineup coming back, we haven't been a very good team in the past 2 years. So where does that land? What do we do from there? That's my point.
Man, honestly, man, right now, I just think we just have what we got and we just got to deal with it.
I think we got some some legit talent on the team. And I think overall, our offense, I think we made some pretty damn good calls for the majority of the game. Like we had some really good play calls that was like, man, that's a really good play. I don't know why we got away from the run whenever we did, but we were still moving it up and down whenever we wanted to. But whenever it comes down to 4th and 9 or 4th and whatever, and we throw a swing pass, that's what I can't defend that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know, man. I'm not, I don't even know if I'm mad anymore. I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of numb to it. I didn't go in here expecting to win the game, but I wouldn't have been surprised if we did. But I still, right now, sitting in my backyard, I got the hell out of there. I still think we should have won the game. I still do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
I'm not saying we're better than Tulane, but we gave them points, and then we gave them points again.
Yeah.
3 times.
You had opportunities to win the game, and we poo-pooed every opportunity we had to go ahead and win it. And look, let's be honest, that terrible kickoff return at the half after halftime, that set the table for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, then what? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like we were playing catch up after that.
Yep.
Because they basically what did they get? Like they kicked the field goal, then they got a pick 6, and then they got a return. So they basically had a 3-for-1. Like with what's his name was always talking about double dipping.
Yep.
They triple dipped right there. And after that, it was like the stadium, the whole everything just was like there was no energy left. You kind of look at the sidelines, and we still fought back, and we still had a chance to do something. But
I agree. Hey, I know somebody in the area who wants to give his take, RC. In fact, he's on camera right now. It's Man About Town. By the way, Man About Town does not represent the thoughts or opinions of Rage and Review Incorporated, Esquire, whatever you call it. So got that.
He's like a stray now. He just shows up whenever, and hangs out.
What's up, man?
What's up, Josh?
I show up when y'all need the truth spoken on this freaking podcast. I don't understand why. Who's surprised? I'm not surprised. We're the exact same team we've been for 3 years. Why is it so difficult for our fan base to admit who we are? That's why this season.
Josh. Thank you. I've been saying this for the past.
This season.
Thank you.
You know why this season has been the most enjoyable so far in my 20+ years of fandom? It's because happiness is slave to expectation. I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a team that doesn't quit. I'm going to get a team that has flashes of really brilliant moments. I'm going to get super talented guys that can play ball. And then I'm going to get the ball kicked out of bounds. I'm going to get a drop pick. I'm going to get horrible offensive line pass protection. I'm going to get a moment for whatever reason, whenever the moment is going to swing the game one way or the other, we're not going to make a play. That's who we are. That's who we've always been under Dez. Not blaming Dez, just saying that's who we've always been. So to me, Tulane minus 1.5 was the easiest money you're ever going to pick up on a week 3 football game. And I said that we were going to lose by 17 because did you watch Tulane play Oklahoma? Did you watch Tulane really honestly beat Kansas State? They did. And this is a rebuilding year, and their freshman quarterback is unreal. We all knew those things. So, it's hard for me to understand the surprise that I'm hearing in a lot of this. But this is a Tulane rebuilding year on the road. They're off of 2 very difficult games where they kept up. The Cajuns had a week off. This is as healthy as we've ever been under Dez, maybe. This is as experienced as we've ever been under Dez at home. And I don't want to hear it was hot. It was hot for both teams. The fact of the matter is Tulane is light years ahead of where we are as a program.
Tulane was on the hot side of the field tonight, by the way, today.
Look, dude. And look, I'm not going to sit here and get too much into the weeds because, look, I was busy. I was building a sustainable winning culture on the soccer field because that's what we do on Saturdays around here. Sometimes it overlaps, and I have to do that responsibility over the Cajuns. But I was able to listen and watch some of the most important parts of the game. So does it surprise me that I'll tell you this: Tulane gave the Cajuns a lot. Their first scoring drive, they had 2 pass interferences. One of them wasn't a pass interference. They missed that field goal at the end. that's a chip shot. Usually they have a pretty good kicker. The fact that they were even in the game to be able to make that drive down 8 was a little bit of a miracle. Tulane gave us as much as we gave them. So, I mean, like man for man, they had a better roster. Break for break, we did nothing with the breaks. They did something with the breaks. The fact, like Ryan made the comment about how they triple dip right there around the halftime time. Like those are the things that we never, ever, ever capitalize on. Somebody said something about how we didn't tackle well. Have you ever watched this team play defense under Dez? We don't tackle. Did y'all watch the Jackson State game?
Dude, that was
Jacksonville State
embarrassing today, though, man.
Look, the bowl game. This is almost like a repeat of the bowl game. Like you look at it and you say we had moments. Sure, we always have moments, but we can't put together a complete football game. Complimentary football is not played in Lafayette. It just is not.
But how do you go from having Mensah in your hands, and they were crediting Mensah with his elusiveness, but then you look at the video, he's not doing anything crazy except running past a tackler because they're not tackling. How many arm tackles did you see today?
Well, how many times did they lose contain on the edge too? How many times did you see him step right up, wide open running lane? It's unbelievable, and it's not just him. And Mensah's really good. Mensah's really good, and we talked about that last week, how good he was. But that happens way too often. We were abused in the bowl game just like that.
RC, you want to respond to that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to the coaching, and I don't want to keep on going back to that, but I will. So this is the third time that we have Dez up against Summerall, right? The first year was whenever we were up 17-0 and Ben got hurt on that touchdown, and they ended up coming back and they won right at, I think it was 23-17. Last year, Dez gave him everything that he wanted and more, and a pass interference call, go figure, actually bailed Troy out to win the game. So from my perspective, I'm thinking I want Dez to grow, and I'm thinking that he's actually gonna grow into taking the third time's the charm. So I still think that the thing that killed us, he had a couple of bad calls on the offensive side of the ball, but they just wore us down on defense. They ran and ran and ran and ran. Even whenever we did a run blitz, our guys just ran right past them and they found a hole. Even whenever we hit them in the backfield, they had a couple more 5-6 yards, to the end of the run. So I was hoping that I would see a little bit of difference in the coaching, and I think I did, but it's just, I don't know. It's frustrating.
And this is a good point by Jesse Longclaw before you go, Josh. He said the fact that Dez says we're close to where we need to be is extremely concerning. I agree with that. Like, why are we close to where we need to be? Why are we not there?
We've heard that
for years.
But Nick, we've heard that the last 2 years. We're so close. We're so close. Well, I mean, eventually, the closer
when are we going to get there?
You should be there, right? So,
so I want him to say we sucked at critical times today, and my play calling at times was bad, and we need to move on and beat Wake Forest. That's all I want to hear. I want to hear honesty.
I mean, guys, like, how close can you be when it's your third year? These are your guys. These are your recruits. Sorry if there's a lot of wind in the background, but like, these are your guys. These are your recruits. This should be it. This should be the final product. Ben's a senior. You got a senior quarterback. You got experienced offensive line. There's no excuses anymore.
I want to say this though, to what Ryan said. They ran it down our throat, but that's their identity. That's who they are. They thought that they had a redshirt quarterback coming in here and they were going to have to protect him. Turns out the guy's a playmaker, but that's who they are. They're a ground and pound. They're a John Summerall physical football team. We talked about this last week. There were times in the game where I thought it was impressive that UL was able to keep up with the physicality. So if you want to take a good thing away, that was a good thing for really large parts of that game. But the fact that they ran it and we, look at every time they had a 3rd and short or a 4th and short, you knew they were picking it up. That's who they are. But I want to say this. Coach Dez has always coached desperate. In times where you didn't need to coach desperate, like, why are we calling these 4th and 7 calls on our side of the field? What the hell is that for? What are you doing? That is the desperation to me. And there have been many games and a couple
What
against.
was their third down? What was their third down percentage conversion?
We have
I'm
to
sure
look at
Nick
that.
probably has the stats up, but
85, something
I
ridiculous.
don't. Yeah, it
Are
was
you serious?
ridiculous.
It's seriously
that's
85%?
demoralizing. That's demoralizing.
Yeah.
But again,
so is that on Dez or
we
is that
coach.
on, is that on,
We're almost there.
coach
Delgado?
desperate.
But we're almost there. Yeah, we're almost there though, Ryan. We're almost there.
We need to look.
Third,
it needs
third
to be
and who?
third and Lamar, but it might have been third and desperate. Coach desperate, because that's how he coaches. It ain't Coach Desermo. It's Coach desperate. It's ridiculous how often we go for it when we have absolutely no reason to go for it. We go for two when we don't need to be going for two. I don't understand the thought process on the sideline. Zan says they dominated the left side of the line of scrimmage. I agree. But how long is this going to continue? This was a problem last year. We're supposed to be healthy on the offensive line.
RC, we're gonna move on. We got some other guys who want to chime in. TG, you've been holding for quite a while, man. If you want to mute yourself, what is on your mind, dude?
Say good evening to, or no, good afternoon to everybody. But my thoughts on it, I was there on the sideline watching. I kind of left at the end of the fourth quarter with like 3 minutes left. My thoughts, I don't think it's a time to hit the panic button. I feel like it's very, very early. And like I said during the Kennesaw State post-game talk, that this was going to be our first test versus some actual competition. And in my opinion, I mean, to me, we played good. We did have points in the game where we had mistakes, a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. Defensively, we couldn't adjust. We couldn't stop the run. I mean, besides that, I mean, we held a pretty good quarterback to under 100 yards passing. I mean, their pass game to me was ineffective. I mean, they basically stood on a run game because, I mean, that was basically what was working for them. Offensively, I say besides it's some questionable calls. Okay, we gonna get that with our coaches offensively for some reason. You know, that's been like that for the past couple of years since I've been playing. But to me, offensively, to say we put up 33 or what it was, they ended with 33, I want to say.
Yeah, it was 33.
Against a pretty good defense that Tulane had. I mean, going into the game, from what some of the players told me, their front seven was good. And their front seven showed out. Tulane front seven. That was the heart of their defense, and it proved. And they said the secondary was suspect, which they was. They had a lot of penalties called on the Tulane secondary. And I felt like that was something we could have exploited a little more. But also, our passing game offensively, our O-line, it was good at points and bad at points. And to me, overall, I don't think Ben had a lot of time. And that's why I feel like he was playing a lot more, I would say a little more jittery in the pocket because of that. So, I mean, it's a lot of factors that come into the game. You know, I kind of hate to hear how a lot of people come on here and badmouth the coaching staff, badmouth the players and everything. If you haven't, to me, been on that field to actually experience it and actually go through a game, that's hard to kind of talk on, in my opinion. It's easy to talk on from the outside in, and not actually being out there and actually playing it. It'd be kind of disheartening hearing that.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
that's why we got guys like you, Ty, and we appreciate what you're saying. I got a question real quick. You made a comment about the offensive line and pass protection and Ben having to shuck and juck back there. Didn't you feel like the offensive line leaned on that front seven for Tulane, even though they were good? They were a good unit. I felt like the offensive line run blocking. I thought that was
I'm
probably
about
the
to say
brightest spot of the
I ain't get a
game.
chance to. Yeah, I was going to end up touching on that. To say, yeah, the run game was there. I felt like we could have leaned on it at times, but I also felt like we could have did a couple more play actions off of it
I agree
to
with
where
that.
we could have got some people open or slipped some people through coverages and everything to get the ball to them. Like I said, it was that drive when they hit T Carter like twice and he ended up scoring. Like, to me, that's one of our main keys on the offense is number 0 T Carter. And we gotta find ways to get our tight ends involved. We actually have a great tight
Preach.
end room. You have T
Preach.
Carter at the front that's leading them. Then we
Preach.
got Caden Jensen, that's a sophomore that's coming right behind him. That's
This man's talking right now.
very good. To say he's young and he still has time to grow, so he could be even better. And we got young ones that's still Ty Stampley. He got in. I think he caught a pass as well. So I mean, we have to try to incorporate our tight ends more into the offense. I feel like
This man is
we
he's
do have a
preaching to
better.
y'all.
But I will say I liked what I saw out of the tight ends when we did throw to them today. So I agree with you. I think incorporate them more. I'm not upset with our offensive performance. I think we offensively performed well outside.
Yeah.
And look, I know you have. We interviewed Coach Hayes from Tulane this week, by the way, because our own administration won't allow us to interview coaches, so we have to go to the opposing team to interview coaches and get their takes on the game. But regardless, we spoke to Coach Hayes, the running backs coach from Tulane this week, and how can you hate the guy? And that's really all of the coaches. Like, don't think that because we're critical of some of the play calls that Dez had today, we hate the guy. We all love Dez, but the problem is, I mean, you can disagree with me, but in my opinion, some of his play calls offensively in very critical times in this game were suspect. Going for 2 that early put us in a bind later in the game. That we could have tied it up. And instead we were trying to score and go for 2. That was it just screams of desperate. And I again, Tulane is a good team, but I don't think we have to treat them like they're in Ohio State that we're playing in Ohio. Like, this is Tulane, we're playing at home. We should be dictating the pace of the game. Instead, we let Tulane kind of hang around long enough to where they took over and they dictated the course of the game. So that's the problem I have, and I think a lot of our fans have. It's not that we hate Dez, is that some of his play calls, although 95% of them were really good, some of the critical ones seem desperate to us, and that disappoints me. We should be further along in that.
I definitely agree with you on that. He does have questionable calls at questionable and serious points in the game that we don't understand. I don't think nobody really understand probably what's going through his head at that time. It's just something that they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and actually learn from it. I didn't like the double pass reverse thing.
That was stupid.
That play, it rarely works at practice when they ran it against us in practice. So I just never thought we would actually try to run that in the game. But that, to me, that was very questionable call. If you was gonna go for 2, why not go to the play that you just scored on, or go into a variation of that formation and run something different out of that? But like a double pass, you limit yourself to only 1 to 2 options coming around with the pass to try to throw it to people. So to me, you limit your options on that play, and if the pressure is there, it's gonna throw it off even more. To me, a trick play, that ain't something you run on, a 2-point conversion or something like that. But besides all that, to me, like I said in the Kennesaw State, we was gonna win the game. To me, we should have won the game. Two mistakes, a pick six. To me, if you don't have nobody there, to me, because from my angle, I don't think I saw anybody in the vicinity of that pass that had a red jersey on. So take the sack, kick the ball. I mean, that's and then special teams. That's something we just gonna have to go back to the drawing board and fix. That's to me, special teams is something that's very simple to fix, and the players have to make it a priority to fix for that to get fixed. I mean,
man, but
special
here's the
teams.
deal. We're in year 6 of saying the same old crap over and over, man. Like, Tyler, we got to get this right. That's simple. Like you said, it's simple. Like, why can't we get that one thing right? Because it cost us today. It cost us 7.
I mean, special teams, brother. You have dynamic players on both sides of the ball. You gotta give respect to that guy on Tulane for housing that. But at the same time, our players who got outside contain, staying in lanes, not overcommitting to the ball, things like that. I mean, that's going back to the drawing board. Defensively, if we just got one stop, that was just the key to me. That was the basis of the game, the one stop, and we just could not get that one stop today. And Tulane did, like y'all was saying earlier. Tulane was able to get the stop and change the momentum of the game to shift it completely to their side. Because I mean, the first half was a tit for tat game. You know, I'm to me what I'm happy about or seeing from the takes from the game is that our offense actually was able to keep us in the game and not the other way around. Because within the past 2 years under Dez, if we was to get down like how we was at times, it used to be hard for the offense to kind of restart or reboot back up and get back going. Offense actually was able to sustain and actually keep points and keep scoring tit for tat with Tulane, and that's what kept us in the game.
And you know what, Tyler, I'll agree with you on that. And actually, if there's a ray of sunshine or at least a light at the end of the tunnel, we did look. Anytime you score 33 points, you're expected to win. I thought scoring 33 points today would have been good enough to win. I will say, moving forward in playing in conference, 33 points should be more than enough to have a good conference record, I would say, barring any goofy mistakes that we gave to Tulane today. But, I know you made a comment about, fans questioning play calling. I'll give you an example of what was frustrating to me early in the game with the pick six. So I said this earlier in the episode, and one of the things that frustrated me personally was we have a three-headed monster in our rushing attack. All three of our running backs, whether it's Dre, whether it's Bill, whether it's Zylan, all three guys have NFL potential, kind of like Jacob did with the Saints. I mean, all three guys could go pro. In that drive, we threw the ball twice. One was an overthrow, and another one I forgot. I think maybe Ben threw it out of bounds, which put us at a 3rd and 10 to where we had to throw the football. I guess the way I think when I see that is, why not play with the weaponry you have? In other words, if we have 3 really solid running backs, why did you pass the first 2 times and not try to run the football, create short yardage to where Ben doesn't have to make that throw? And of course, the pick six, it was a miscommunication on Harvey's part. Harvey wasn't turned around when he tried to hit him, and the defensive back was literally right there to catch it right in the breadbasket to go take it to the house. Why not run the football in that drive, and use the weapons that we have with the rushing attack? So it's those little things that make the big difference. I mean, really, it was 10-10 before that pick six. Who knows? We get a first down, march down the field, kick a field goal before halftime. We're up at halftime, maybe. So it's those little things that I question of why we do what we do, and sometimes it ends up costing us.
To talk about the running back room today, Dre Washington. This was his first game back after the foot or ankle injury, and I could tell that he wasn't still at 100%.
Correct.
Zylan Perry, he ended up getting hurt or something towards like the middle of the game. I want to say it was either second or third quarter. He didn't somewhat kind of look the same either.
Ty, is Lance hurt? Is Lance full go? What's going on with him? Why isn't he getting utilized?
Lance LeGrand?
Yeah.
He had a couple catches today. I want to say he had either two or three passes.
I think he had double coverage on him too.
Okay,
from
but
what
still,
I saw,
a man with that amount of talent needs to be targeted 8 to 10 times a game at minimum. And I'm curious as to why we're not lining him up in the backfield to put him in the slot. Like, what's going on with that?
He is lining up in the slot from what I've been seeing. I don't know if the turf was a little slippery today or what, but like I done saw a couple times today he was kind of slipping coming out of his routes and time and stuff like that. So that also throws off timing for the quarterback to hit him if he was to be open, if they was in a zone or something like that. So I don't know if it's like he need to get some better cleats or if the turf was bad or not, but like he slipped a couple times, but he did also make a couple of plays today as well. With the offense now, it's like I feel like we have a talented wide receiver room, and he don't have to throw to a singular person like we did kind of under Napier. Napier, you knew who kind of the ball was gonna go to if the ball was up in the air. You had your Jamarcus Bradley, you had your Michael Jeffersons. That if we needed a deep ball or something like that, we throwing it to him.
Kyron Lacey, but he's a traitor who left for money.
We
Whatever.
had people back then in the day where we only kind of had just that one wide receiver that people knew the ball was going to. Nowadays, I feel like now we have a lot more weapons. You got T. Carter, you got Harvey, you got Jacob Bernard, you got Lance, you got Robert Williams. It's a lot more targets now that the ball just don't have to go to one person in this offense no more.
No, I agree, T. Hey, we're going to move on because we got some other people hanging. Be sure to mute yourself, and if you want to chime in, please do. But I do want to give, and Nova, I see you there. I'm getting to you in a second. Lane just joined us. Lane, do you want to get some of your perspective on today? Thank you for being there. Got some great pictures, but tell us, a little bit about what you thought.
Well, for one, it was extremely hot. It said it was 80 something degrees, but it felt like 100 and something.
Yeah, I was going to say on the field, they had on ESPN, they had the little temperature thing and it was 135 at one point.
Yeah, but offensively, like y'all have been saying, we kept up with them pretty well. But defensively, it was just hard for us to stop the run on that left side for some reason. If we could have just made it 1 or 2 stops late, I feel like we would have won, or at least had a better chance to win at the end. And the lack of play calls towards the end of the game was odd to me.
I'm going to wake up tomorrow and feel better. But I agree. I mean, there's nothing that anybody who's talked today has said that doesn't make sense. I think we all saw it. I think it's all obvious. I think we had opportunities to win this game at home. But nobody's come out and said anything that the other person hasn't said. I mean, Lane just said what we all said. RC came on. Terry was here. Tyler was here. We're all saying the same stuff. Like, it was a very evenly matched game. Again, you want to just having time to decompress. You want to poo-poo on the defense, but the fact is both defenses were gassed and early in the game, and you could tell that. So I think we both saw the same things out of our teams that we did. I mean, if Tulane would have lost that game and we won, they'd be saying the exact same thing we're saying right now. Outside of the fact that they had 6 penalties that were really game changers, but again, don't cheat. You won't get those called on you. Now, one of those penalties was very questionable, and I don't think it should have been called. But in the end,
where it tripped over his own feet.
Well, yeah, where I think it was Broussard tripped over his own feet, but the fact of the matter is, again, I know I've criticized Dez on his game call, some of his plays that he called during this game. I think that was one of the things he did really well, was say, hey, we saw this on tape, Mr. Referee, watch out for this. We know this is coming. They're going to be very physical. They hold. And there was a lot of holding that wasn't called on Tulane today. So I know they want to complain about that one little call.
Always.
The whole game. they were holding the entire game.
Can we also say this? We zone in and we zero in on some of these goofy play calls, and it is the Napier smartest man in the room syndrome BS that we hate. But you also have to say, like, I'm not even really upset about the play calling as a whole. It's the desperation. There's absolutely no reason to make 4, 5, 6 of those play calls. Outside of that, you know that the offensive line is excelling in the run game, and I felt like they leaned on it when they needed to, and then we tried to get smartest man in the room syndrome. That is like the big takeaway as far as like the criticism of the play calling. It's that it's not like all game long we were lost as a play calling group. There were a couple of crucial moments where it was just not smart, and really there was no explanation for what we saw. That's I hope nobody's like listening and taking away, oh, coaches they have no idea what they're doing. The passing game coordinator's an idiot. No, we're not saying that. We're saying the offensive line is winning almost every down that they're having to push. Ben is running around like his chicken with his head cut off. The O-line is clearly getting dominated on the edge. Lean on the running game as much as you can. Stay in short and manageable. Third and short and manageable. Like, manage the football game by what you're doing well against, again, a vaunted front seven for what we're going to see this year. And I agree with the people that were saying that probably this is the best team we're going to face this year. I think Wake's bad. Only problem is we're going to Wake off of Tulane, and it's on the road. That is our disadvantage. Tulane had a hell of a last week.
Doesn't Wake have a bye week as well this week?
Oh, well, that's terrible news for us.
I mean, it didn't work out well for us this week.
They're going to sling it around. And look, this is another indictment on the way we schedule our early season games. I know some of it is out of our control, but you can't go FCS, call up Tulane. You can't do that right now. We didn't see any form of competition. Tulane, in the meantime, is going on the road and playing Oklahoma and hosting K-State. If you didn't see this coming, if you didn't grab Tulane at 1.5, you should stop betting and move on. Choose another hobby.
I disagree.
Not paying attention.
I don't hate the scheduling. What I hate is the fact that we can't play Michigan State next week because they chickened out of the game. But I mean, I still think we have a very winnable game.
We have a better chance to beat Wake Forest than we would Michigan State.
Look, literally all of your goals are still in front of you. So some of us are pushing the panic button. As I say, us as fans are pushing the panic button and say, "Holy crap, we lost to Tulane. We're not going to win another game this season." I'm not doing that. I just, again, why are we here again?
It comes down to what kind of season you're looking to have, Nick, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's pressing the panic button. You shouldn't be. I mean, this probably was an L before the season started. You probably look at the schedule and you go, that feels like an L. It did to me. I mean, ain't no way I was picking Tulane to win today. Ain't no way. However, you can still recover and have a nice season. It depends on how you pick up the pieces. I just think that week 3, week 4, we've had this exact same conversation for 3 years in a row. And that's what's bothering me. People can be upset and jump ship and all that stuff. And I mean, if you've been paying attention to Cajun football under the Desermo regime, this is the conversation that we have on week 3. You can go back and listen to season 6 and season 5. We had this exact same talk, almost identical, like bad penalties and goofy play calls. And it's kind of uncanny how almost exactly where we are. I think we have a lot more upside this season, But ain't no way I was picking Tulane not to win this game. There's just no way.
Well, the reason I thought we would win this game is because we have so much returning talent that's
And
what
all
we
the
were sold
advantages.
on. But again, that's what we were sold on. It's a home game. We have all these guys coming back. We have so much experience. You think this would be a dub. Not automatic dub, but you kind of felt, to me, I bought into the hype. Nova, you've been holding on a while, man. I think you're the last speaker we got to go to. So what's up, man?
Look, I'm standing on Pinhook Bridge, ready to jump off right now
Yes.
with the alligators beneath me. But trying to pull myself together. But when you look at it, Ben played his ass off tonight. I mean, yes, he made mistakes, but that dude was a competitor and a gamer. And I think this was probably one of his best games that he has played for this university when it comes to grit and just giving everything he had on this one. I was really impressed with the way Ben played. Now he made some mistakes, but he was in some not good managed situations where the defense knew what he was going to have to do. So you pin your ears back, you go after the guy. But with that being said, I thought the offensive line played okay. They were hit or miss. Defensive line got dominated. They weren't gap sound. They over pursue. They got washed down on things. And can somebody please, when the guard is pulling, you knock the piss out of the guard when he's pulling and you blow up the plays, man. Like a play defensive line. You gotta get down and you gotta try to blow that guard up or at least delay him from making his pull. Because if you can do that, you blow up the whole play. And they kept running the damn pulling guard, and it's like we would just get washed down or we weren't gap sound, and that was so frustrating to watch, and we never adjusted to it. I thought the defensive line got completely dominated today, and that was probably the worst part of it. And then when they would break into the secondary, our guys in the secondary were getting smoked by Mekhi Hughes, piss poor tackling, and they were getting run over. And it was just that was disheartening. But I tell you what, when we couldn't stop the run, I knew that right then and there this game was over with. Because if you can't stop the run and they were gashing us like that and we weren't making adjustments, you were going to have to onside kick it to flip the field back in our direction, because we weren't getting turnovers. We dropped an interception that, you got to give Tyrese Skipper that he was there. I think the tight end kind of messed him up and kind of grabbed his arm when he was going to make that catch, and that kind of screwed him up. But that could have been a huge play there and really flip some momentum in our direction. But I mean, you got to give it to Tulane. They were the better team today. I think talent-wise, we're pretty even. I think they've got a couple more skill position pieces. I think their offensive line is better than our offensive line. But I think we, I think overall we're going to be okay in the Sun Belt. I think we got a chance to win it all. I really do in the Sun Belt. You look at our team. Our offense puts up points. Our defense. Nobody plays defense in the Sun Belt right now. So, hey, if we can get a couple stops, we can win a lot of things in the Sun Belt. Especially, I think Texas State is the hardest opponent we got left on our schedule. I think we should beat everybody else on our schedule, to be totally honest with you. So, I'm going to Wake Forest game next week. We'll see what happens down there in Winston-Salem. I think we're a better team than Wake Forest. I truly do. I think we got better skill positions than they do, and I think we've got better lines than they do. After watching that team play a couple times. So, they've got a good running back. So hopefully we can stop Claiborne. If we can stop that dude, then I think we got a good shot at knocking off Wake Forest next week on the road. So, but I'm very impressed with one thing that we have done this year and made adjustments to is that if you look at what Mike has done, he's done what Josh has wanted him to do, and it's throw to the tight end more. And that is something I'm a big proponent of the tight end too, because I think the tight end, especially in football, is one of the most key receiving positions that is always in space. You find they always are in space and can make plays. Get the ball to the damn tight end. We did that pretty decently today. I think we had 2 tight ends with touchdowns. Yeah, I think we had 2 or 3. No, we had 2 tight ends with touchdowns today. So that was good to see. And overall, I think offensively, we're totally fine. We need to pound the rock, keep pounding the rock, and pound the rock again, because our running backs are beast mode, and our offensive line does a pretty good job of run blocking. So the offensive output today was against a really good. I think Tulane actually has good defense, good defensive players, And I think the offensive line did a pretty solid job today. They had some pass protection breakdown. You can see that happening. But for the most part, I thought they did pretty well. It didn't break our way today, and it just seems to happen that way in one-score games with Mike D. Unfortunately, we lost it today, but there's always we got the whole season ahead of us. We got all our Sun Belt opponents ahead of us, and there ain't nobody in the Sun Belt that I look at and I'm like, oh my God, we can't compete and win games against. Even Texas
I don't know, man.
State.
Did you watch the South Alabama game
I did,
against App State?
but yeah, Bothwell was good. But look, I'm gonna put it to you this way: App State, man,
App State is not good, man. I'm sorry.
Their defense is atrocious. They have probably the worst defense in the Sun Belt next to Arkansas State right now. Like they have no players on that defense. They have no running game. That guy Castle, man, like I feel bad for him, but he dropped some important passes in that game to kind of keep them going. But besides their quarterback, and Christian Hornet receiver, App State doesn't really scare me. I mean, App State is not what they used to be. They used to have a vaunted defense. They don't have that no more, and they're very porous. I think Gio Lopez is going to put up points. It's going to be a track meet against South Alabama. Good news is we got them at home, and we tend to play better at home against South Alabama, and South Alabama tends to struggle a little bit. So that's going to be, I think, a knockdown drag out. Bothwell, that dude's amazing looking. Like that's a true freshman. That's beast mode, and he reminds me a lot of Maurice Jones-Drew, like just the way he runs, and that dude will be tough to stop if our defensive line is not gap sound. But that's the thing, we just got to be more disciplined on defense, man. I think our defense is actually going to be better than what they showed today. I think people need to look at that and understand. Like today, we played the best running backs we're going to see all year. Besides Mahdi and Bothwell, these are the two best running back 1-2 punches we're going to see all year. Hughes and Barnes we'd hit them. We couldn't tackle. Tackling was atrocious. But these dudes are hard to tackle. They made plays. I mean, give it to Tulane, dude. They handed us our ass. I picked Tulane to win, too. I'm like Josh, I thought Tulane was going to come in and win this game. I watched them the last 3 weeks. They looked really good. They looked very sound. They were undisciplined, though, and in the secondary, which they've kind of been all year.
Well, they're young.
And that showed up
they're
today,
young, and that's going to happen. Yep.
What's up?
I was agreeing with you. They're young, and that's going to happen in the secondary. And the coaches probably teach them, be aggressive. We'll take the calls.
Yeah. I mean, look, John Summerall's an outstanding coach. I think people kind of fail to realize that he does a good job of putting his staff together and his game plan together. And he's a really good coach. That's why he won 2 Sun Belt championships in a row, with Gunnar Watson as your quarterback. And I don't know if anybody watches that dude, but he was not good. Everybody's like, oh, he's good. Gunnar Watson was not a good quarterback. John Summerall's defense was great. And they had enough offensive firepower with Kamani Fidel to make things happen for him. And that's why they won the Sun Belt, because they were able to run the football and play defense. And I think we can do both of those this year. And I don't think anybody needs to hit the panic button, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, we lost this game, took one on the chin. It's going to happen. I don't expect us to go undefeated, but I do expect us. I think this team can win 9 to 10 games.
Nova, I appreciate your take, man. I know Josh wants to get in on some of the comments you made, but dude, get a camera sometime. We'll get you on here to talk with us. But I think he has some really good takes. Josh, I know you want to clap back on him a couple of things, so go ahead.
No, not at all. I actually agree with pretty much everything he said. In fact, he mentioned the wash down, and he talked about, first of all, we struggled to set the edge for I don't know how long, 3 or 4 years, outside of Cam Whitfield and Gant getting on the standing up and getting on the line and really stringing out plays and things like that. I had a question for him. I wanted to ask him who he looked for more out of. He mentioned he played defensive line. Who do you look for more out of to blow that up? Because I agree with you. We kind of wait. We don't attack. I don't know if it's just thinking or what's going on, but who do you look? Mason Narcisse is very athletic, but I want him in the middle. Like, who are we getting around to attack that guard and blow those plays up? So is my question for Nova, if he'll take a minute.
If you're running a 3 defensive front, at some point you're
were we mostly in the 3? I didn't watch the whole game, so were we mostly in the 3 today?
No, we had a 4-man front, but if you're in a 4 or 3-man front, it depends. The defensive tackle and the 2 tech needs to blow that up, if we're playing a 4-man front.
Right.
It's a 3-man front, and you see them pulling the damn guard, and you're not going to be able to set the edge. You need to slant down and start disrupting that play. That's the only way you can do. And you could see which way they were running. Tulane was always running to that strong side, and it was constant, and we couldn't stop it. They would pull the guard, they would run to the strong side, and it was so frustrating to watch that. It's like you got to blow that up on the defensive line. Or you send a linebacker in if you're going to run a 3 technique too, and you try to blow it up with a linebacker. But it's and you shoot the gap with a linebacker and you try to get in the backfield. But it was frustrating to watch that because I agree we could not set the edge at all.
Do you chalk that up to inexperience? Do you chalk that up to inexperience? Do you chalk that up to lack of technique? Do you are they losing their ed? Are they losing their mental focus in between? Like, what is the reason that you see the lack of being able to stay gap disciplined over and over and over? How does that occur over and over and over?
I think we were smoked. I think we were tired. I don't think we had depth. I think everybody was just tired. And it's like anybody who plays sports, or if you're in the military, when you start getting tired, you start to make mistakes, right? And you start to lose some of that mental sharpness, right? So it's kind of a learned thing, and you gotta actually be able to diagnose the play and what's going on, and you got to look at what formations they're in. And you're like, okay, they're in this formation. I think they had they were running 2 tight ends, and one was off as a wing tight end, and then it would pull in the guard, and it's like, dude, they just got the pure numbers, man. You got to try to blow that up, shoot the gap, smoke the damn guard that's pulling, so the end is not going to get blown up. Because once the end gets blown up, that cornerback or that safety's on the island by themselves. And we saw it over and over again with Hughes going around that end, and he'd break that one tackle, and that was it, man. He was off to the races, man. It's just it was just they did a great job of executing. I mean,
I agree, they executed
offensive line.
And they were in a heavy package more than I expected them, and more than I saw in the other 3 games. And also they ran that 12 package a lot. They were in a 12 personnel often. I didn't expect that. I thought they were going to spread us out a little bit more. But once they saw they could dominate our defensive front 7, it was kind of over. You know what I mean? I think you said that, but it's disappointing as somebody who really prefers defense over offense, and you watch that side of the ball more intently. And from a defensive line guy, I'm sure you do the same. But you kind of know when things are going bad. And it felt like that happened around mid-second quarter. I don't know. It was tough to watch.
I don't know. I think in the first quarter it was pretty bad because they were gashing us in the first quarter, and we were not sound. I was hoping all right, we're gonna make an adjustment, and we never made an adjustment. We were still even on the pass rushing, right? We had freaking Darian, what's his name, Mensa, in Narcissus grab, and what he did was, instead of breaking down and making the tackle on a guy who's elusive, when you got an elusive quarterback, you've got to break down. You can't be going 900 miles an hour and run past the guy. You got to get to at least about a couple feet from him and start breaking down to make the tackle, because the dude is very elusive and can get away. And I saw when Narcisse blew past him, I was like, oh, this ain't good. And sure enough, he runs, he gets the first down. Mensa's very elusive, and I think that's what makes him such a good quarterback. Because with his arm, he does throw the ball well at times, but there's nothing that he does that's just like, oh man, this dude is playing like Caleb Williams, dude. I mean, it's just he's just very elusive, and he creates space for himself, and he creates time for him to throw the football.
I mean, let's be honest. I feel like Ben had a better game overall, even with his mistakes, than Mensa did. But Mensa didn't have to be special because they ran the ball down our throats.
That's right. Mensa didn't have to do anything special because all he had to do was turn around and give the ball to Hughes or Barnes, and they're going to run us and gash us for 8 yards a carry, 9 yards a carry, I think it was. I mean, that was ridiculous. That was the worst run defense we have seen out of the Cajuns in probably the last 8 years. I mean, I would even say at the end of HUD's reign, our run defense was still better than that.
Nova, I'm going to say it again, man. Send us a DM, send us your email address or number whenever you want to hop on camera with us. Because your takes, I mean, I'm getting messages, I'm getting texts that saying this guy knows football, and this from former players. Appreciate your takes, dude. That was awesome. So thank you so much for chiming in.
I love talking ball with somebody who knows ball.
football's been a part of my life since I was a little kid, and either you're watching it or you're playing it. And when you can't play it anymore, all you do is watch it, and you watch it over and over again. It's kind of like a drug. It's addictive, so I like watching the line because I played line. And when you watch the offensive, defensive lines play, you always focus in on technique, just like when you watch baseball, right? If you played a certain position, or when a hitter goes to play, you're looking at techniques and different things, the game within the game and what they're doing differently, and so that's kind of how I watch sports, almost through an analytical mind, and like today, I'll tell everybody this. Today was not a good day because we didn't. It was not a good day because we didn't win, but overall, we are just fine. We're going to be okay. This team's going to get their feet underneath them, and I think we've got great opportunity to win 9 to 10 games in our conference.
I agree,
and that's because this team has talent, and you can see it all over the field. This team has so much talent, and they just got to hone it in and sharpen their tools just a little bit more. They got to sharpen their tools just a little bit more, and I think we'll be okay.
I agree. And look, this to me was a measuring stick for the rest of the season. I think we all said that, and I still think it was. I don't think we failed it. I think we failed it in the fact that we had so many opportunities to actually win the game, and that pisses us off. Have a couple more of those games, I think we'll start questioning things. But look, I predicted 8 wins. That's still in front of us. Somebody commented, the playoff is out of something about the play. We're eliminated from the playoff. I mean, were we ever getting in the playoff, guys? That to me is I don't know. I mean, it's still technically, let's say we win, let's say we go 11-1. I mean, you could still technically get in, but I don't think any of us here on this stream were saying, hey, let's get the playoff. I mean, it's hopeful, but Liberty plays nobody and they get in the playoff. So why not us, I guess. So anyway, Jerry, let's look around the Sun Belt. I know you were pulling up scores earlier. I think it's time to see what's going on. Some interesting scores today, man.
Yeah, one that stood out. Well, so I'll start on a Thursday night game. Of course, we had the nationally televised game between Appalachian State and South Alabama. South Alabama shocks the Mountaineers of Boone by the score of 48-14. I want to say this is probably one of App State's worst losses. I know it was one of the worst home loss in conference since joining the Sun Belt in 2014. Another score that stood out: James Madison going to Chapel Hill, taking care of the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Final score, guys, I didn't realize basketball season started already. 70-50.
Crazy.
Tied for the most points given up by North Carolina in their school history. Great win for the Dukes. Also, down in the Horseshoe in Ohio, Marshall traveled to take on Ohio State. The Buckeyes had their way with the Thundering Herd. Ohio State victorious by the final score of 49-14. Coastal Carolina hosted a P5 today. They hosted the Cavaliers of Virginia down in Conway, South Carolina, but the Cavaliers took care of business, handing Coastal Carolina their first loss of the season. Final score of Virginia 43, Coastal Carolina 24. Also, Arkansas State traveled to Ames, Iowa to take on Iowa State. The same place where the Cajuns went in 2020. Unfortunately for Arkansas State, didn't quite get the same amount of luck that the Cajuns got down in Ames. Iowa State victorious easily over Arkansas State by the score of 52-7. Also in play right now, down in Jacksonville, Alabama, the Jacksonville Gamecocks looking for their first win against Southern Miss. There's about to be some mutiny in Hattiesburg. Looking at this score, in the third quarter, the Jacksonville Gamecocks lead Southern Miss by the score of 44-7. Just a reminder, Louisiana will travel to Hattiesburg on October 5th for the conference opener, as the Cajuns will take on Southern Miss in 2 weeks following their showdown against Wake Forest next week. Also, other games of note: 6 o'clock kickoff. Troy will be hosting FCS opponent Florida A&M. At 6:45 on the SEC Network, Georgia Southern will travel to Oxford to take on the number 5 Ole Miss Rebels. And of course, at 7 o'clock, 2-0 UL Monroe will travel to to Austin to take on the number 1 team in the land, the Texas Longhorns. General Booty versus Arch Manning should be an interesting matchup there. So that's your scores around the Sun Belt. And of course, there'll be more to come tonight, starting with that game in Troy.
Good job, Jerry.
I gotta say though,
I just plugged. Can we just host a P4, like
Oh, that's Terry. Terry, I need to mute Terry.
Turn your phone up, dog.
Terry just talking. Hello? You there, Terry?
Hello?
Yeah, what's up, man?
I said, can we please be like Coastal and Georgia State and host a P4? Because I'm just getting tired of these home homes with FCS teams.
No, we gotta host Kennesaw State and
Rice.
Northwest.
We got Rice
Southeast
next
College.
year.
Yeah,
Got Rice
can't
next
wait.
year coming to
Oh,
town.
yeah. Yep. The giant killers or the Rice Owls. Yep.
You can't wait.
Hey, speaking of the administration and scheduling and whatnot, do we get to rip them for the water thing?
Oh yes, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Josh. You know what?
Administration heat incoming.
So I wanted to comment on that because that's very important. Apparently, we have game day crew that listen to us, so we got to give them feedback. Coming into this game, actually, you want me to do it, Josh, or do you want to do the honors?
So I don't know the ins and outs. I just got the text messages from the irate fans.
Me too.
Go ahead.
Okay, so coming into this game, we knew at 11 o'clock for an 11 o'clock kickoff that it was going to be around 95 degrees. That was the prediction coming into this game this morning, and it was 95 degrees and more. It was hot as hell. That's just literally hot as hell. And I get a text message in the second quarter from a friend of mine. He and his girlfriend left the game early because, drum roll please, the concession stand ran out of bottled water. Guys, come on now. 95-degree heat. 95-degree heat, 105-degree heat index, 11 o'clock kickoff. How in the world do you run out of bottled water? Come on, guys.
Because that's what we
do,
do, Jerry. That is what we do. That's what we do best. Is
we hate ourselves, Jerry. We hate ourselves.
Miss the easy stuff.
I've been saying that for 10 years, man.
That should be number one on your list going into a game like this, is to make sure you have enough, whether it's water, drinks, beverages, fully well knowing it's going to be a scorcher in that stadium, of course, which it was. You can't run out of bottled water in the first half.
It's
sorry.
like
in the first half. They ran out in the first half.
Bro, it's like that scene from Friday. How you gonna get fired on your day off? How you gonna run out of water when it's 100 degrees outside in the first half?
Didn't they run out of Coors Light also?
Well, the problem with so it wasn't. I don't even know if they ran out of Coors Light, but I did know because of the logistics. And I don't want to get on them about this because I know logistics have something to do with it with the stadium renovations.
No,
but the beer.
I don't want to hear that.
No,
it's water. It's freaking packaged water. You got
no.
No,
guys, I'm talking about the beer line. I'm moving on to the beer. I'm not talking about the water. No, the water's no excuse. There's no excuse. But the beer lines were ridiculously long to where people didn't want to wait in line. Like I knew a few people that just said, screw it. And I'm just going to go get something else like a lemonade because the beer lines were just ridiculous. A ridiculous way.
Well, you can thank TSAB for that and why we don't have people walking through the stands, throwing out beers to people because TSAB decided they can't do it. So nobody else can. So you can thank those a-holes for it.
I do want to read.
I'm talking about you, AYS. Because I know you stalk my crap.
The Coors Light question was a joke. I was going to say if they didn't run out of Coors, they could have drank that. That's as good as water. But anyway, please proceed.
Well, no, the beer lines are, I mean, look, we talk about Coors, but the beer lines were so long that they were just people that were basically sweating trying to get into the line to get beer. They left the lines because they were so long. But again, I don't want to get on them for that because of the logistics of the renovations. I mean, naturally, you're going to have longer beer lines, but no excuse to run out of bottled water. I mean, that is just downright unacceptable, especially when you have fans that, they left the game early because of that. They didn't want to get heat exhaustion. They didn't want to get heat stroke from being dehydrated. So there were a lot of fans that actually left the game from the people I've talked to. They left before halftime because they ran out of bottled water. That's unacceptable. You got to fix that. That's unacceptable.
Hey, attendance was what, 22 and a half?
22, 5, 34.
22, yeah.
22, 5, 34.
You agree with the number?
Yeah, I do actually. I thought it was a good crowd. I thought it looked very similar to Grambling. This is actually the first time we've had back-to-back crowds of home games of more than 20,000 since I think 2016. So, I mean, that's a good trend, Can
you hear me now?
I'm glad.
So
I like how he apologized still on mute. That's funny.
My bad. But I was gonna say, so the first half looked full. I mean, it looked really full the first half of the game. Now the second half, people were tired of sitting in the heat.
Was hot.
Yeah, so I get
hot
that,
today,
and
guys. It really
we're
was.
not blaming anybody for that. But
No.
but yeah, it was hot, so I give that to him.
Yeah, and call me crazy for saying this, even with the stadium renovation. And Josh, you went to the Grambling game. Lane, you've been to both games. I kind of like this intimate setting, and maybe it's just the fact that like it feels more closed in. I guess like I like that about the way the stadium's configured now, and I actually think with the new stadium setup, it should be pretty nice. I mean, I would think as
I
far
love
as
it. I said it. You want to make
it's like the
something
old
feel
team.
important? Smash everybody together. Tell people they can't come. That's the only way to make things exclusive. Lafayette wants to feel exclusive. That's the only reason why people go to La Fonda's. Nobody's going there to eat, that's for sure.
And that's why we love the old
margaritas.
team, man. Yeah, well,
bad too. I mean, anyway, point is that yes, I agree with you. It feels more important where everybody's kind of they're forced to be next to each other. They got the buzz. It makes feel important. But I knew Tulane was going to bring a crowd, man. Like I know that Tulane and the Cajuns over the years has been sometimes not important, sometimes very important, but it's still an in-state G5 that's on the rise. Like, if you can't get up for that, you can't get up to go to Cajun Field. I was excited about this game when it was announced a couple years ago.
Yeah, and also, too, I mean, like you said, anytime you play an in-state opponent, you definitely are expected to have a contingency of fans from that school. I mean, whether it's Southern, Grambling, McNeese, Tulane, you expect the crowd.
How was the Tulane contingent?
It was actually very good. They had they brought their marching band. They had that whole section in the corner end zone. They had a bunch of fans spread out.
By the way, Jerry, apparently our band is getting hammered on the message board because they didn't wear full uniform like Tulane did. In other words, our band was smart enough not to come out in full uniform and getting hammered for it. So apparently we're not a good band like Tulane's because we decided not to come out.
What was the halftime selection?
Probably Sounds of Spring or something.
Scooby-Doo?
Rock. I think it was rock music or something like that. I wasn't paying attention.
I think Tulane's was country. They actually put. By the way, Tulane, their fans have been, pumping their chests on how smart they are and how we can't get in. They couldn't even spell Ragin' Cajuns right on their own Twitter account. They spelled it Rajin, like Tahim, like Raheem Cajuns. Way to go, Tulane. Couldn't even get that right.
Yeah, I had I had the chance to kind of walk around the stadium at halftime, and they brought a good contingent. And there were actually a good amount of Cajun fans on the hill today. So again, like you said, Josh, you have sort of that exclusive atmosphere. It made the stadium intimate and made it look full. And I'm hoping next year with the new addition that it stays that way and it creates a little bit of aura where people want to go and check it out. Because I know the next home game is going to be App State in 3 weeks. So I mean, obviously, I would think our fans will want to go to that, just because it's the conference home opener plus it's App. So.
Yep. Agreed. All right, boys. Well, it's about time to call it a day. Let's go around the horn. Oh, look, we got the mini Mats out there. What's up, Big Cat?
It's our biggest fans. They can't hear you guys because I got the earphones on. Nick
Can you tell Big Cat I'm saying what's up? And Little Bit over there. And Little Bit. Can we get a shout out from her as well?
They want a shout out from you.
Come on, Camille.
Come on, Cam. Say hi.
No, nothing.
No.
They can't hear you, Jerry.
All right, we'll go around the horn. Final thoughts, Jerry.
I'm glad Nova brought some perspective. I'm with him. The season's not over. Again, we scored 33 points today. I mean, I guess that's the one moral thing I'll say. But we do have a lot to clean up. I think going into Wake Forest, if we want to win in Winston-Salem, we're going to have to clean up some of the mistakes we made today. And, look, all hope's not lost. I think it's more frustrating because we really should have won this game. You give a team 14 points, especially it's a good team like Tulane, you're going to pay every time. And, we got to stop being a charity and doing that. I do feel optimistic that if we do clean this up, I don't expect any real conference competition that matches Tulane. Maybe Coastal, maybe Texas State, but looking at Southern Miss right now, struggle against Jacksonville State, looking the way App State played the other night, and looking at the fact that even with South Alabama, like we've had their number over the last, couple years. I just feel optimistic that we can make a run in conference if we continue to get better. So again, thank you, Nova, for bringing some common sense perspective. I do feel optimistic that we will get better, but we have to start next week in Winston-Salem against a good Wake Forest team. I think that is an opportunity. If there's any opportunity for redemption, it's going to a P4 opponent and winning at their house. And I do think that that game next week is very winnable for us.
Lane, final thoughts.
We need to get better in the run game on defense. I thought our passing defense is pretty okay. It could have gotten a little better towards the end, but I feel like, as other people have said, our goals are still in front of us. Still have the chance to win the conference, but we'll see going forward, because obviously this year the Sun Belt's all over the place with South Al and JMU beating North Carolina, but we'll see how things end up over the next couple of weeks.
All right, we'll close it out with you, man about town, Josh. Final thoughts.
I'm not one to say that I told y'all so. I'm not that kind of guy, but I mean, I told y'all exactly what I said it was going to happen happened. The only reason they even had a chance was because of the missed field goal and the goofy stuff. Anyway, I don't necessarily think that today was a bad look. Obviously, you want to win, and I hate moral victories, but the outcome, I think the Cajun takeaway is actually more positive than it is a negative. Inside the building, not from fans. Inside the building. I think that we can improve upon this. I think there's a lot to improve, but it's based in a lot of success on the field. And I know we talk about this every year, but you got to clean it up. You got to clean up penalties. We got to make plays that change games. We can't just be on schedule. Of course we want to be, but you got to make plays that change games. I think that Dez and Tim and everybody involved have a lot to coach based upon success. And I know that's hard to really get out to people that haven't played sports. You always want to have something to work on when you go to practice on Monday or Tuesday or wherever. So from that standpoint, I think we're fine. I think, like Lane said, the Sun Belt is obviously open. I just saw that JMU has hung a 70 burger on the North Carolina. What? Did that really happen? Like, what is going on? The Sun Belt competed against Arizona State on a weird Thursday night game. We're still a viable league. And, hey, guys, if we run the table, maybe win one or lose one more in between, there's some postseason things that could happen. So this team has a lot to play for, and I think that you can build upon this. You can. I am not upset. I am not doom and gloom. I am not by any means jumping off the Pinhook Bridge like our guy Nova. I'm not doing that. In fact, I think that the takeaway today is positive. After we get over all we should have won the game and we blew opportunities, I think when you go back and really analyze all the good things that we did today, if we continue to get better from here, I think we're in great shape.
Well said. And all I've got to say after all of that is beat Wake Forest. That's all I got. That's all I got, boys.
And also go UCLA.
And also go UCLA. By the way, that's tied at 17 right now. So, it was supposed to be an easy week, according to TSAT fans, before they blow out South Alabama, which if I were them, I'd rethink that thought.
Wouldn't count on it.
Like, subscribe, all that Shaws, to Rage and Review on all the platforms, X, YouTube, Twitter. No, that's X. Twitch is what I'm thinking of. Just like all our stuff, whatever it is. For Jerry, for Josh, for Lane, I'm Nick. Let's do it again very soon, boys and girls. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And until then, bye, everybody.